that climate change, when it comes to campaign issues, when it comes to some of the folks on Twitter and Facebook, this is Bill King saying man-made climate change is not only the most important campaign issue for the 2020 U.S. election, it's the most important issue globally, must be treated as such, or we are in big trouble. Charlie Wolf on Facebook saying man-made climate change is a hoax and a myth designed to dupe the gullible and feeble-minded. The climate has continuously changed over 4 billion years. China and India are the main polluters, by the way, wine to them. Bridget says that China and India are heavy polluters. We have clean air and water in our country. The problem is asking Americans to do out without and sacrifice more when it comes to the huge pollution of China and India. And then Mary says climate change impacts all of us. Poor countries will suffer the most, adding to the migration problem. Time is running out. One thing to consider, future wars will not be fought over oil, they'll be fought over water. If you want to make comments there, our Twitter feed, @CSpanWJ, our Facebook page, facebook.com/CSpan. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, next, Republican line. This is Harry.
Yeah, I don't believe in this at all. First of all, how many of them are meteorologists? I like to see him debate that with that. I go back to Roger Rebel. He started this in 1957. By 1991, he said, you know what, I was wrong about everything. Carbon dioxide is really more beneficial to the earth than anything else. And everybody that calls in, none of them know anything about this. Have a meteorologist on this. The guy that founded the Weather Channel, he was the most honest of all. He said, if I really believed there was climate change over this, I would say something. I have nothing to gain or lose. America's spending $4 billion a year on these so-called scientists to say there's climate change without studying it or knowing there really is.
What do you think about it being a campaign issue?
It's garbage. That's what I said in the beginning. None of these people running for Democrat president know anything about meteorology. So where are they getting their facts from? Let them sit down. They want to debate it with a meteorologist.
Joe is next. Joe is from Ohio, independent line. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, thanks for taking my call. I just want to say that one of the things I think we could do to help the environment is to start getting back to planting native plants. I know that's a lot of, we need to plant more trees, oak trees, maple trees, native trees, not invasive species. I don't hear any of the candidates talking about the plight of the decline of insects in this country and across the world, in particular pollinators. And one of the other things we have to do is get away from this, we have to change the way we landscape in this country and get away from planting grass, like all these big lawns, which take a lot of fertilizer, a lot of resources, a lot of water. We need to get back to planting native plants. This will help, it will help the environment, it'll help pollinators and insects. And one real quick here too, like with California, you see California, a lot of the way they landscape out there is to use rocks in their yards instead of planting plants. Plants are the key to helping the environment, helping insects, helping pollinators.
So you're saying if the candidates started talking about those issues, you probably gain more of their attention.
I don't hear any of the candidates on either side talking about planting native plants. We have an invasive species problem all across the world as well.
Joe in Akron, Ohio, giving his thoughts on climate change and we're asking you as far as the topic when it comes to being a campaign issue, if that's something you would consider a very important one. You can tell us why, maybe not. You can also tell us why. 202-748-8000 for Democrats. It's 202-748-8001 for Republicans and Independents. 202-748-8002. Again, you can post on Twitter and Facebook if you want to make comments there too. One of those folks, one of the people, the candidates in the 2020 debates in the first round was the California Senator Kamala Harris, giving specifics of what she would see as president when it comes to issues of climate change.
Well, first of all, I don't even call it climate change. It's a climate crisis. It represents an existential threat to us as a species. And the fact that we have a president of the United States who has embraced science fiction over science fact will be to our collective peril. I visited while the embers were smoldering the wildfires in California. I spoke with firefighters who were in the midst of fighting a fire while their own homes were burning. And on this issue, it is a critical issue that is about what we must do to confront what is immediate and before us right now. That is why I support a Green New Deal. It is why I believe on day one, and as president, will re-enter us in the Paris Agreement, because we have to take these issues seriously. And frankly, we have a president of the United States. We talked about, you asked before, what is the greatest national security threat to the United States? It's Donald Trump. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I agree, climate change represents an existential threat. He denies the science.
This is Suzanne, Tallahassee, Florida, Democrats line.
Hey there. I think that the climate is the most important thing. We're going to be in serious trouble within a few years, and if our government will set up a commission to address the issue immediately, we could alleviate some of the problems we have here. Every government in the world needs to plant more trees, and by planting more trees, getting rid of a lot of the invasive species that are overtaking some of our natural gifts that we have in this climate.
So, as far as candidates, who has the best approach on climate change, do you think?
I think that Jay Inslee is right on target when it comes to climate change, but I do believe that we do need somebody like Kamala Harris for president. I think that Joe Biden is just not with us anymore like he used to be.
When it comes to Kamala Harris, as far as climate change, what does she bring then, as far as an approach or a plan, do you think?
She brings a plan. I haven't seen plans from much of the rest of the candidates that we have to offer right now. We need this as a priority.
James is next. James in Grand Forks, North Dakota, Republican line.
Hi. Hey Joe, how are you?
Fine, thanks.
From studies of ice core studies and plebiscites and other things, I think I read a lot of Jared Diamond's work, like his Pulitzer Prize-winning book on Germs and Steel, a book called Collapse, which talks about how climate change has affected everything from different groups to, especially in the legends, their rise and fall was caused because of climate change. The Little Ice Age began in the 1300s. Naturally, cooling period went on for about 400 years, and there was no internal combustion engines causing that. But for 40,000 years is about all we know in North America. And in that 40,000 years, there's been about 23 massive climate shifts. The last ice age ended about, 9,000 years ago. The American Indians came across a 1,000-mile wide frozen land bridge. They're also immigrants. They came from Asia. Following game, there was lots of mass extinctions when they got here.
So it's a campaign issue?
Not for me. I wanted to say to the Democrats, every Republican, we all believe in climate change. Nobody denies that. Just live in North Dakota. Just lived through a 50 below zero wind chill. And I think the thing that bothers me about some of the women in this country is, how do you move weight without the diesel engine? How can you get thousands of cattle to the slaughter, to the rendering plant, to the supermarkets? How do you move milk? How do you move wood to the paper mills? How do you build houses? How do you move weight without the power of the diesel?
Okay, let's hear from Ron. Ron in Pennsylvania, Independent line. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. I think that climate change is the only issue. Nothing else counts if we don't have a world to live in. I think we're like fish in an aquarium, and there's a leak and the water is going out, and I don't know what's going to happen when that reaches a critical point. And I think that's going to be determined by the amount of disease and illness. Right now, there are things happening in healthcare that are unexplainable. I think that
So when it comes to voting then, is this the only issue for you then considering a candidate?
I think without this on top, everything is secondary.
When it comes to candidates you're seeing then, does anybody present a plan that, at least to you, is a workable plan, something you would support?
The governor of Washington and what's his name, Schmidt from
Howard Schmidt, former Starbucks executive?
Starbucks, yeah. They make a lot of sense. I don't know if they have the leadership ability, if they can do that. I think that money is the only thing that's driving this big debate. I think the only people that stand to make money in terms of a poor climate are the food producers, specifically GMO. And then you're talking about that's international support. That's the British Greeneries and Cargill, and then you have.
We got your point, Ron. Thanks for calling. A couple of other bits of news while we continue on this topic. The Los Angeles Times reporting that it's the financier and registered sex offender Jeffrey Epstein arrested yesterday in New York on new sex trafficking charges involving allegations dating to the early 2000s, according to officials. A wealthy hedge fund manager who once counted as friends former President Bill Clinton, Great Britain's Prince Andrew, and President Trump, was taken into federal custody and is expected to appear Monday in federal court, according to 3 law enforcement officials telling that the Associated Press. One of the officials said Epstein is accused of paying underage girls for massages and molesting them in his homes in Florida and New York. That's the Los Angeles Times. If you go to the New York Times section today, a profile interview with Nancy Pelosi by Maureen Dowd. Some of the topics, including those in Congress, saying this: some House liberals have been furious with the Speaker since she capitulated to Republicans and Democratic moderates and agreed to pass a bill sending more funding to the border. The column says the Speaker, who's trying to keep the party center-left, must know that getting Trump out of office is a goal that could be jeopardized by the fact that the Democrats are lurched so far left in the first debates with bilingual pandering and talk about busing and decriminalizing illegal border crossings and abolishing private health insurance. This is the poll whose name was synonymous for decades with extreme San Francisco liberalism. Now, astonishingly, the woman formerly scorned as a pinko is the voice of moderation, urging the kids to turn down the music and slow their roll or risk having a second unbearable helping of Trump. Quote, if the left doesn't think I'm left enough, so be it, she said breezily. As I say to these people, come to my basement. I have these signs about single payer from 30 years ago. I understand what they're saying, but we have a responsibility to get something done, which is different from advocacy. We have to have a solution, not just a Twitter fight. That's from the New York Times. That profile is there. And if you go to the Washington Post this morning, one of the features that they'll have on their front page is when it comes to approval numbers, the economy helping the president, saying that his approval rating among voting age Americans stands at 44%, edging up from 39% in April, 53% saying they disapprove of them among registered voters, 47% they approve of the president, 50% disapprove. And in April, 42% of registered voters said they approved, while 54% said they disapproved. You'll find that on the pages of the Washington Post. To the topic of climate change being a campaign issue, Mount Laurel, New Jersey, Democrats line. Nick, go ahead.
Yes. Well, good morning. First off, I would definitely like to say that climate change is at the top of my list going forward in the 2020 presidential campaign cycle, I guess there.
Why is it so?
I guess we have all those scientists telling us we basically have 12 years to get our act together. Otherwise, we are going to have irreparable damage that our generation, my generation, and I guess our kids are going to be facing. So
as far as a campaign issue, where do you pay attention to as far as the candidates and what they're saying about the issue?
Well, it's nice. Definitely all of the candidates up there now, 20-something of them, are saying pretty much good things about climate change. There's a couple stragglers, maybe, John Delaney or Hickenlooper, who are still trying to catch up with the rest of the pack. But really, there's only one candidate, I think, who you can trust when it comes to these kinds kinds of things, and that's going to have to be Senator Bernie Sanders. He's been saying these things his entire time in the Congress, and it's nice that everyone is coming along to what he's saying now, but where have they been this whole time?
The viewer mentions John Hickenlooper. He's the former Colorado governor. It was during those debates that you saw recently. He talked about specifically how oil and gas companies would fare under a Hickenlooper administration. Here's some of his comments.
Well, I share the sense of urgency. I'm a scientist, so I recognize that we've been 10 or 12 years of actually, suffering irreversible damage. But guaranteeing everybody a government job is not going to get us there. So socialism, in that sense, is not the solution. We have to look at what really will make a difference. In Colorado, we're closing a couple of coal plants, replacing it with wind, solar, and batteries, and the monthly bills go down. We're building a network for electric vehicles. We are working with the oil and gas industry, and we've created the first methane regulations in the country. Methane is 25 times worse than CO2. And then we've got to get to that last part. I mean, the industrial, heavy industry, we haven't seen the plans yet. If you look at the real problem, CO2, the worst polluters in CO2 is China, is the United States, and that's concrete and its exhalation. And beyond that, I think we've got to recognize that only by bringing people together, businesses, nonprofits, and we can't demonize every business. We've got to bring them together to be part of the stick, because ultimately, if we're not able to do that, we will be doomed to failure. We have no way of doing this without bringing everyone together.
Off of our Twitter feed, this is Steve, who says it's a significant concern. As a citizen climate advocate, I see it as a bridge, not a wedge issue. Solutions can be mobilized the bipartisan way. The Energy Innovation Act cites as one, but then he adds, but let's get moving. And then Mark Stone off of Twitter as well, saying when it comes to if it's a campaign issue for him, he says no, but the Democrats want to spend $100 trillion on the Green New Deal. Again, your comments on our Twitter feed. You can post at C-SPAN WJ, and then Facebook at facebook.com/C-SPAN. Cornell, New York. Kimberly is up next, Republican line. Thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Good morning. I'd just like to say that I think we're falling very far behind as far as renewable energy goes, and I'd like to see more of that currently, and I'd like to see a lot more of that in the future. I think that a lot of states have passed some regulations that don't allow certain kinds of renewable energy, certainly like solar energy, and I think that that's an industry that could certainly generate some jobs and generate a whole lot of money rather than, just relying on the coal industry, which really, I mean, who didn't know that, a lot of these companies were going to go bankrupt? Who didn't know that? I mean, it's not rocket science, and to put in all of our eggs in one basket as far as gas and oil, I don't think that's the way to go. I think that, we really have to look at what we have, and I think that, we have to look at these regulations that are being peeled back constantly. I mean, FERC still doesn't have a clean drinkable water. That's really not acceptable.
We saw the previous administration invest a bit of what is known generally as green jobs. Are you saying that didn't produce enough results for you?
I think it did, but I think we need to continue to move forward. And I would also say, as far as the caller in North Dakota said about diesel, we certainly, we do need diesel, and there's some really great moving forward. There's some technology that's making diesel much cleaner to be used. So I think that we just need to continue to work to see, what's best for not just, Republicans and Democrats. The other thing is that, I think oil and gas is so heavily used now because of who's making money on it. I mean, that's...
Okay, that's Kimberly, New York. It is in South Carolina, independent line. Hi, Stephen.
How you doing this morning?
Fine, thank you.
Good. I think Kimberly makes a lot of sense, and that's one reason why I think Kamala might be my person. I like Bernie, but Kamala, I like her as well. I live close to South Carolina, and I know since Matthew, our water has not gone back down like it used to. We're making tides, don't get me wrong, but we're having higher tides in the river and on the coast. No question about it. You put
put your head in the sand if you want to or not, but it's no different than the roads in my community. They're absolutely falling to pieces. You can wait till there's big old potholes and then you fix it, or you can address the problem ahead. And
when it comes to the tides, you're gonna have to explain all of you know, when it comes to tides, what have you seen as far as the changes? Give me some examples.
well, I've got a buddy of mine. He lives on one of the streets that's right on the inlet. Now you've got an inlet, then you've got a beach in the ocean. He lives on the inlet. He's fixing his house, trying to get that thing cleaned up so he can get off of that road because it floods every time he has a high tide on it. He can't get in and out of his house. Now, that's the price for living on the coast. But there's some strips south of me that are the whole strip of land is not 100 feet wide, and they got houses on both sides of it. And they're not just houses, they're $5, $6, $8 million houses. They're crazy number of houses.
So when it comes to Kamala Harris, then what is a specific of hers that you like when it comes to topics of climate change?
She's a female, and men don't get it. I'm sorry, a lot of men just don't get it. And I'm not saying she's the end-all, be-all. That's not what I'm saying. But we cannot put our head in the frickin' sand. And I don't know that she does have the answer, but I don't think any of them have the answer.
When you say men don't get it, why do you think that?
I wish I knew. It's about money more than it is anything else. It's just like the last lady said. If you want to look at why you have society the way it is, and people say it's worried about living in a socialist society. I'm building a house right now. I'm not a contractor. I'm a homeowner. I'm building a house by myself.